We finally got us some mock-up shifter parts on the Hako from Derek. He CNC'd these out of some thick plastic blocks just for testing. And so far it looks very plausible for clearing the shifter opening in the car. One of the main things we didn't want to do was cut into the body. We got a new thingy. Would you just weld it?
I cut it in half and then welded it.
Okay.
I tried it with no weld and I was like, oh, it feels like shit. I was like, oh, it's because it's not solid.
Nice.
I know we weld them fully, but I'm gonna see if it works first.
Yeah. Cool.
You know, touch it?
Yeah. So yeah, if we can work this out, we're gonna move on to full production, and we know for certain it'll fit the Hako. It's potentially gonna fit the Ken Mary Skyline too. We actually had somebody order one for his Ken Mary. I don't know if this crossmember design is similar, but we're gonna find out.
I've been working on this car for a long time, for real. And I was hammering. I've been kind of over it because I didn't know what I was doing. But that's okay, because I contacted someone who did know what he was doing, and he helped me out a lot. So, if for some reason you have a 1972 Skyline GTX or GT or GTR, and you want to install speed hub gauges, what you're going to need to do is make a small jumper. So that goes to the original amp meter for the tach. So key on source. Key on source goes through this, out of that, into this wire right there, and that goes to the key on over by the coil area. So if you don't jump that, then you're not going to have key on at the coil. So yeah, for all 12 people that see this video in the next 10 years that have a Hako and they want speed hubs, there you go. I also had to move a wire somewhere. I don't know where I put it. Here it is. So I had to make this splice because it was spliced to the black and yellow and it didn't do anything. So that gave me a fuel pump, and then I did that, and I got key on power to the front of the car, and then I was able to run it. I had to make a jumper because we installed the JDM carports front engine harness. So everything on the front of this car is all new, wiring wise. You can see it barely down there. All that down there is new. Headlight wiring, the little fuse links down here, all that's new. So yeah, this car has an internal regulated alternator, so I just put a diode in the key on wire there because I started the car, and with the alternator working, you turn off. I had to unplug the ignition to make it turn off. So I fixed that, and yeah, car good, finally. So now I can actually install the speed hub gauges that I showed off like a month and a half ago, because I actually have something that works, and I can actually do it now. Yippee, more wiring, but I'm glad the car works now. Power windows wouldn't work earlier, I didn't have that shit hooked up right. So yeah. All of this shit. So this is the circuit breaker for the window, and then right behind that is the charge relay. So all that needs to be grounded for it to work. This car's old, and I don't know what I'm doing with it, but just because you don't know doesn't mean you can't do it, right?
I don't know if Caleb talked about it, but there were several different things on the harness that were not lining up. He was doing weird electrical things. The whole interior was dead. And he actually reached out to one of the guys over at JDM Legends So very much appreciated for passing on information to help Caleb out, because he was pulling his hair out. I mean, you saw last month's vlog, he was like, I give up. Kind of took a step back, came back to the drawing board. Figured out that there is a, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a little metal relay box or some type of electronic component that is self-grounding, and he didn't have it bolted to the dash frame. So there was no circuit to ground for a good portion of the electrical harness, so he fixed that. We found that whoever worked on it last had the headlight relay jumpered to work with the hacked up harness under the dash. Once Caleb figured that out, he restored it back to how it's supposed to be. All that started working. And I think there was one more thing that he had to correct. Maybe it was a pin swap or something, I don't remember. Long story short, we finally got this figured out. All the electrical works now. The speed hut gauges are in it. Here's the factory livery speed huts in the car. And see, they look pretty close to factory. Very unassuming at first glance, until you get in and you realize that these are actually speed huts. So huge shout out to Lunar Looks. That 3D printed cluster inlay is awesome. We are building up a bunch of parts to offer for the Hako market. The website's not complete yet, but that is coming down the pike. So here is the shifter design that we came up with. We have the billet aluminum piece now, so that we can actually bolt this in for good. And I think we have a couple of other small areas of concern, like maybe extending this shifter out a little bit, because it kind of hits the console just a hair going into reverse. This way you don't have to cut up, you know, the shifter tunnel opening, which is really nice. So we have the billet aluminum piece now here for that. And then Mr. Regalado hates the way that these seat brackets look. I don't know who originally put them in, but he wasn't happy with them, so we tracked down a set of bride seat rails with the proper seat belt attachment points, and we also tracked down a set of used JDM seat belts, so we can actually put proper seat brackets in this car and seat belts and make it safe to drive, because this thing doesn't have any seat belts. And then once we get that stuff installed, he also approved some big brakes in the rear from Technotoy Tuning, which are either in production or on back order right now, so we're waiting on those to show up to match the rears to the front disc brakes, so it'll be 4-wheel disc. And then we're pretty much in quality control mode for this, unless he approves anything else, or if we find anything else just during our QC testing and driving and all that. So,
well, boys, we're gonna need some F's in the chat, alright? Some unfortunate Yep. So Godzilla's development 280 is totaled.
well, nobody's hurt, that's what counts.
Yeah, we're fine. So she came in from over there and tried to do a U-turn right here, and I was in this very first lane right here, and she cut me off, and yeah. Had a lady pull out right in front of me. Maybe at the very most had about 20 feet or so until she, like, right in front of me pulled out 20 feet, and I could not stop. I tried. Let me pop the hood so you can get a better idea of how bad. So you can tell strut tower is pushed back and in decent bit. You can see how it's not flat by any means. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick this up, but the whole front core support is pushed back and up. I slid and hit a curb, probably about 30, maybe 30-ish. Yeah, slid and hit a curb like that right after I hit her. And yeah, she's cooked, boys. She is cooked. I don't know how much you can tell, but right there, yeah, you can't really see it on camera. It's crinkled. There's a tear in the sheet metal right there. The whole engine is pushed closer to the driver's side. I don't know how much you can really tell, but the whole engine is like this way more. See by that engine mount, it's crooked. It ripped the bolt out of the engine block down underneath. You can see right here, radiators completely pushed into the alternator and pulleys, everything. She's hurt. She's definitely hurt. I think I did get lucky. However, my father has another S30 clean chassis, and we're gonna basically swap this drivetrain as long as everything's good, which it should be. Really hope it does. I did start it already, how it sits, and it does run. But yeah, she's cooked, boys.
Alrighty, we're getting Mr. Moore's Mustang wrapped up. Just finished washing it. It's getting ready to go home tomorrow. It's going to be driving up from South Texas to come pick it up. But just a quick recap. Did a set of Ford racing cams, Ford racing intake manifold with a cold air intake, BBK long tube headers that we made a custom X-pipe to fit the Borla Attax mufflers. We also implemented the factory Saleen center exit exhaust, which was spliced into the factory exhaust. So it's sort of a half faux tailpipe. So we maintained the functionality out of that because he wanted to retain the Saleen look, the rear bumper, all that. We have the Attax mufflers that Caleb spliced into at the tips to give some of the exhaust feed to the center exit. It was tuned by one of our local tuners. It runs really well. And then I think we capped it off with, we put a set of 411 rear gears in it. So it's a nice basic bolt-ons Saleen Mustang. Okay, we got Mr. Wisniewski's engine back from the machine shop, and what I ended up having them do is I just went ahead and had them revat it for me. It just made a lot more sense to go ahead and just do it properly. I'm sure I could have gotten it clean, but for what they charged to vat stuff versus how long it would have taken me, you know, just makes sense to have them do it. So you can see all of my notches, as well as all the areas where I ground down some casting flash. And I didn't take the time to smooth down every single crevice in this block. Really, the main focus for this was just to target anything that could potentially break loose under extreme load, high RPM, high vibration environments, things like that. So that was the main focus for that. So I'm actually going to get ready to start cleaning all the oil galleries, and then we're going to throw a coat of paint on it, and while the paint is drying, I'm going to start measuring the crankshaft, and we'll move on to all of our clearances and piston ring gaps and all that. One of the things I just did was, it's pretty common to get what's called flash rust when you let engines sit after they've been freshly machined. And the machine shop usually does a pretty good job at coating these things in like a WD-40 or other type oil, but it's not foolproof. I mean, even something as simple as touching an engine block with sweaty hands will create a flash rust in that spot. So it's not a big deal as long as you don't let it sit like that for, you know, months at a time. You can usually get rid of it by wet sanding with 1000 grit sandpaper and a little bit of automatic transmission fluid. I like ATF because it has really, really high detergent properties. It's actually a pretty well-known trade secret as far as cleaning anything. If you want to clean combustion chambers, valves, engine parts, whatever. Some people even go as far as mixing a 50-50 ratio of carburetor cleaner and ATF. But I'll just give you an example. Look at this rag here. This was after carburetor cleaning surfaces, wiping them down. Then I did a secondary scrub with a microfiber towel and a bit of ATF. So it's a great secondary cleaning method, and it really will remove a lot of that just surface stuff that you're not aware is there. If you've got time to do it twice, you've got time to do it right. So just do it right the first time and you won't have to redo it. Get this thing as clean as humanly possible. The next thing we're going to do, especially on these higher caliber builds, you really should be doing this on all OEM spec builds, but especially higher caliber builds, you want to get a bottoming tap, and these can be ordered from McMaster Car or other places that sells tools, machining tools, things like that. But a bottoming tap, you'll notice, is flat at the end versus a traditional tap is going to have a taper and kind of like a bullnose type end. So what this does is allow you to get all the way down in the hole, and it's great for chasing threads for things like engine blocks and blind holes. That's really what it's for. It's to bottom out into a hole that does not have a through hole. So we're going to chase all of these threads with a little bit of ATF, and we're going to clean them out. And once we do that, we're going to move on to cleaning all of the oil gallery holes. We're going to start with the ones where the main bearings are, and then we're going to work our way down to the main oil galleries in and out that go this way through the engine block, and get as much trash as we can out of there. Okay, went to O'Reilly's, got another set of these. So one thing to note, be really careful with the front side of these. You see there's really not a lot of force holding these bristles in, and as they get torn up over time, these things can actually leach them and they break loose. So to account for that, you get a really thin magnet, run this through the oil gallery after you're done doing your wire brush cleaning, just as an extra good measure. And because of that same problem, I also recommend only using the steel bristle brushes. The brass ones are nice, but brass is not magnetic, so if you lose any bristles, you run the risk of them staying trapped in the engine somewhere. And in order to prep the end to fit over a drill, just take a pair of pliers, just squeeze them down just like that. And now you can chuck that in a drill. Work smart, not hard. Got all the oil galleries cleaned. Pretty much the next step from here is the same gig with these fasteners up top. All of our head bolt threads, especially when running ARP hardware, you should pretty much consider this a mandatory thing. When you're putting ARP hardware in your block, you want to chase the threads. I do it regardless of whether it's getting ARPs or not, just same gig, torque value. And even if we're doing an OE spec, we hold our engine builds to a much tighter degree of tolerance than, say, your average engine builder. And we do that for a multitude of reasons, one of which my main focus is unmatched quality. And I don't want to have to do it again for free, because I've had to do it before and it sucks. So if you do it right the first time, there's nothing left to doubt. Okay, we got this thing, for the most part, as clean as I can get it, at least with manual labor. So I chased all the threads like I showed you. The bores have been cleaned enough. They're going to get cleaned again, deep cleaned once I set the ring gap and everything. I'm not worried about getting them too clean right now, because I'm still going to be working on setting the ring gaps and everything, which means I'm going to be in and out of it, bringing more dirt and contamination in. But we have all the galleries done, all of the fastener holes done. I even went in here with a wire brush and just scrubbed as best as I could in all this area. Just everything that you can do. You're never going to get all of the dirt out of it, but you can do your best to get as much as you can. The secondary side of keeping this thing clean is changing the oil religiously when you do your first starts. Like typically when we build an engine and we break it in, we change the oil after 2 heat cycles. Cut the filter open, we look for metal shavings, we look for anything that looks odd, any signs of any potential damage before we go any further. If it all looks good, that next oil change is 50 miles. After that 50-mile oil change, we do the same process again, and we do 100 miles. And then if all 3 of those are good, then the next step is 500 miles, and that's pretty much your dedicated break-in / okay, you can tune it and push the thing. Usually we can get them broken in and the rings sapped within that 100-mile mark. But depending on the type of ring you get, sometimes they take a little longer to seat. You know, when it's broken in, you notice a tone change in the way the engine sounds, the way the exhaust sounds. It doesn't smell like burnt oil anymore because those rings have finally seated and they're no longer allowing oil to bypass and burn, which means you're getting a lot less blow-by. So some people might say that's excessive, and yeah, might be true, but we like to err on the side of attention to detail and caution, because I have had to build an engine for free one time, and it was so expensive, and it was one of those things that I will never forget. So that's why I am so meticulous when I build these things now. So moving forward, I'm getting ready to tape off everything, and we're going to put a nice coat of gloss black paint on this engine block. And today is the 4th of July. I was wanting to do a lot more work, but I think I'm just going to call it a day and enjoy the holiday. I would say I'm about 50% done with the tedious stuff. 50% of it is cleaning. Still got to clean the crank. That's a lot easier because it's just smaller journals. The rods are brand new. Pistons are brand new. Cleaning is about 50% of the work. The other 50% is getting all of our precise measurements, everything documented, and then we move on to final assembly. And once we're in final assembly, it's not necessarily smooth sailing, but every minute we spend is making progress towards a fully assembled engine. Okay, so like I said, we've locked down this micrometer at 2.153. Okay, so let me see if I can show this on camera. I don't know how easy it's going to be to reflect what I'm trying to achieve. But what I do is I lay the micrometer on the bench, and then I run the dial bore gauge into it, and I find the widest point of travel. Sorry, I'm trying to line this up with the camera by myself is a pain in the ass, but I think you guys get the overall general concept of, we know that this micrometer is exactly 2.153, and so when this gauge reads 0, it's also going to be 2.153, and if it's a little bit below 0, it's my additional oil clearance. If it's tighter than 2.153, then we got a problem. So say if it's 0 to 2.153, that would be like 3 thousandths oil clearance. That would be no clearance. So the next step that I like to take, I'll physically chuck this micrometer in a vise so that it's easier for me to check my 0 point in between measurements. I really try to be as precise as I can. So in between each main bearing, I'll come back over here and I'll check my 0 and make sure that. So the next step is going to be, let's torque some main bearing caps. Typically what we do is we know that our 0 point is 2.153, and that the bores on the main bearings are going to be slightly larger. So what we do is, since we zeroed at 2.153, whatever we measure, we add to that total value. So like for example here, we had an additional 0.03. Over here we had an additional 3 thousandths of an inch. So we add that to our original measurement. And then what we do is we subtract our main journal diameter measurement from our dial bore gauge combined measurement, and that gives us our oil clearance. So I'm just going across the line and doing all of them. All right, so we got our oil clearance at 3.5 thousandths. So I'm going to do the math real quick. We'll tally up what our oil clearance is going to be, and then I'm going to basically do the same thing but for 5 more rods, and then we will have all of our oil clearances. And it's kind of the same gig with our OEM specifications are almost 1 thousandth to just north of 25 thousandths. We're seeing it about 3 thousandths, which on a race engine or anything performance, you want a little bit looser clearances in factory anyways. So typically we try to target slightly larger clearances for a higher oil flow rate across the bearings. And that's pretty much a standard practice across most of your racing engine world, or really in general, just performance builds. So we're going to do the other 5 now. Well, we got all of the clearances checked, so I'm going to move on to gapping all the piston rings, and then we're ready for final assembly. Okay, so the spec we're going to be targeting is going to be 18 thousandths on the top ring, 21.5 thousandths, 22 thousandths on the secondary ring, and I typically try to hold within plus or minus maybe 2 thousandths max. I'm sure there's an argument somewhere to be made if you want them exact or less than a 2 thousandths tolerance. Real world application, I've never had a problem, especially as wide of a variance as you see with ITM piston rings. If we can hold 2 thousandths degree of tolerance, I think we're going to be in really good shape. Okay, the next step is we need to clean the crank really well. I'll fill the main journal with carb cleaner, and it trickles down to the rod journal, and then out through here. So on these offset ground cranks, these are usually taken out and threaded for 1/16 NPT pipe plugs, so that way you can keep the entire thing clean. So we're gonna, each main feeds a rod journal. It doesn't go all the way through, so it's it's drilled that way. So we're gonna clean all of these. We're gonna stick some wire wheels in a drill. We're gonna clean the inside of the counterweight drill points, just anywhere that dirt, grease, grime, anything that we don't want circulating in the engine might hide. So I'm going to work on that, and then pretty much once this crank is clean, I'm going to lube the main bearings. I'm going to drop it in, and we're going to check our thrust clearance here. This is your thrust bearing, and so we're going to measure it and see how tight it is. And if it's tight, what I do is I put some 1000 grit emery cloth or sandpaper on the bench. I lather it in ATF, and we just across the thrust surfaces just give ourselves a little bit of clearance. Got the dial indicator set up. It's going to be kind of a pain in the ass to do while holding the camera, but I'm going to try my best. Alright, so if I pry it forward, we got 2 thousandths. So let's pry it back now. Got another 2 thousandths. So that equates to a total of 4 thousandths thrust clearance. So the bottom bearing shell is in spec. So the next step is going to be, we're going to put the top bearing in, torque it to spec, and if we still have the same clearance, we're good. All we got to do is just torque the crank in for good. So let me do that real quick. Okay. So yeah, with the top bearing in, it's been reduced to like 1,000 clearance. So let's zero the gauge out real quick. Barely moving through. Yeah, so we got 1,000. So now all I got to do is I got to pull this top bearing back off, sand it down a little bit, reinstall it, and then check our clearance. Got ourselves 3 thousandths thrust clearance. Multiple times wet sanding with ATF and 1000 grit sandpaper. You can see there's some material, and I just go in, like maybe 3-inch movements, and I do roughly 40 to 50 strokes per side of the bearing. That's kind of the general rule of thumb. And you apply light to moderate pressure, and you want to move up and down. You don't want to stay in the same spot, because if you see all this material, it actually fills up the crevices in between all the sanding grits, and it's not going to be as coarse as up here where it's clean. So you want to keep working your way up and down, and then periodically wipe the sandpaper clean, start over to get a good effective wet sanding. We're getting ready to do the rear main cap, and you'll notice that you've got these side seals. There's 2 little raised portions and then a flat side. So these actually go in here, and these seal lips are going to go towards the engine block. So those face towards the block, just like that. We also will put, I use Toyota FIPG for any sealant on these engines. On the block side, you're going to want to put a little bit of sealant right here. About 15 mils worth of sealant there. And you also want to put 15 mils worth of sealant up here. Then you put your seals in, and then you're going to see I'm going to drive it in with a combination of holding it together, using a brass hammer to tap it in place while my hand is holding the main bearing in place, because a lot of times when you tap it in, you draw the main bearing loose, and you gotta yank it back out, start over. You're also going to be squeezing the sides to keep the seals from popping out, so it takes a little bit of finesse. But we've done enough of these now that we've got it kind of down to a science.
Got done pulling the trains out. I don't know why Ford decided that they needed 8 bell housing bolts on a 4-cylinder, but hey, whatever. So trains out. Now you have to make room for 302 ring there, and yeah, I'm gonna make it a little spicy. I gotta smash in. So if one of you guys ever decide to do a V swap, this right here, you just smash that in, and I don't remember. There's quite a few things you gotta do, but figure it out. I have the engine out, as you can see, ain't nothing in there. So now I'm working on doing suspension, which might sound kind of weird. You think I want to put the motor in the truck, but in order to get the engine mount right there out of the truck, you have to remove the coil spring. So yeah, that's cool. I think you can jimmy it in there with some extensions, but I don't really care to do that. So right now I need to loosen that bolt and loosen the other control arm bolt. So when I take this control arm down and out, that will come out. We also have entirely new control arms, so I guess I can just loosen it to remove it. DJM suspension lower control arms, and also the uppers are somewhere. I might have, is it these? Yeah, these are the upper control arms. So I have this same kit is on my truck with these springs, and it's dirt nasty low. I drove it today. So my truck is really low, and he doesn't want it that low. This would be annoying. Maybe I'll refilm this clip in a second once the dump truck is going. So I have this same kit on my truck, and mine's really, really low. He doesn't want to be this low to the ground, which is fair because it's kind of annoying sometimes. So with absolute zero wheel gap, you know, I passed the shoe test. So what we're going to do is we're going to use my control arms, and we're not going to put in the drop springs. We're going to keep the stock springs and maybe cut one coil off. We're going to see how it sits. If it sits how he wants, cool. If it doesn't, then we'll make it work. For the rear, we're going to do the Explorer rear axle and then lift it back up and we'll shuffle. Alright, so I got the stuff ready. So like I said last time, we're going to reuse that spring on these control arms, and what makes these different than the stock ones is this spring pocket is positioned 2 inches lower than the stock arm. Obviously there's polyurethane mounts here and here, new ball joint, and this one has new ball joints with polyurethane arms, but these are actually extended as well. So when you lower your truck a lot, the camber can only do so much, so you make these longer to push the camber back where it's supposed to be. And since we're doing a V8 swap, we have V8 swap engine mounts. These are from Rick's Rangers. So there's CNC, or not CNC, laser cut or plasma cut, whatever, 1/4 inch steel plate and then laser etched driver and passenger. Very nice. These are actually different engine mounts than I have in my truck. On this one, the spacer there, the spacer lifts the engine up on the driver's side, whereas mine, my passenger side plate has a dip down in it because the engine mounts are not level on this truck. It might be hard to tell. You can't really tell, but the engine mount here is higher than that one over there. So the engine will sit crooked. So the mounts reposition the engine to be straight. So since these mounts push the engine taller and not shorter like mine, I think the cast steel pan or the cast aluminum pan would work, but I didn't know that. So we have a stamped steel pan there, and we have the cast aluminum pan that came on that motor. So we'll see which one fits better. If I can use the steel one, I think I'd rather, or the aluminum one, I think I'd rather do that, because that's the one that came on it and it's clean. I don't know, we'll see. But I got the new engine mount installed right there. Yep, there we go. Put some more parts on. So I tried, the customer didn't really want the truck to be super duper mega slim like I said on mine. That didn't fit. I used a spring compressor. It still didn't fit. So I told him I was like, we can put it together how it is, see how it sits. I've heard that the regular cab trucks don't sit as low as the extended cabs, so we'll see how true that is. So we're gonna put it together like this, see how low it sits. If it's too low, then I'll take it back apart and I'll cut like half a coil off that thing and see if I can get it in there. But yeah, for now, this is how it's going to be. So new control arm, new spring, new upper control arm, 2001 and newer knuckle for a bigger brake. Uses the same caliper, but the rotor's bigger. You know, do it again this side. Yippee! I'm not going to record doing this side because it's the same thing, just again. So we have the V8 engine harness that came out of the donor car, which is still in the parking lot because I don't know what else I need. So all of this will be being used by the engine. So whatever. The only two plugs that I don't know about are these. I'll be able to look at the car again to see what those work. I don't know what those are. So over here I have the battery harnesses and charging harnesses for the cars. This is the Explorer harness that came out of the donor car, and this is the Ranger harness that came out of the Ranger. So you'll see that the Explorer harness is missing this connector, and it's missing this connector, and it's missing this connector, all the shit that I need, right? So what I'm going to do is, instead of trying to make that work, I'm just going to make this work, because this is what the truck does. This is the truck, that's the Explorer. So I had this struggle when I built my truck, as I was trying too hard to adapt the engine in my truck instead of the other way around. So it's easier for me to say, just like what I did over here, right? Instead of the ring terminal that was on the old starter, I have the spade terminal. So all I did was cut that off and put that on. Instead of trying to make this whole thing work, I'll just make this wire longer if I need to. Or if this ground here is too short, I'll just lengthen the ground to where it needs to be, stuff like that. And once I did it on my truck, it was much, much easier to figure out and understand what I was doing. I also have all the suspension on. We have DJM suspension, upper and lower control arms, and lowering springs. We also have 2001 knuckles for bigger brakes, and the brakes are on the back of the truck right now. I swapped over the power steering stuff. So, power steering pressure hose right here, return line as well, all V8 specific stuff. If you have an 01, it's different. My truck's different. I had to get a custom power steering hose made, but since this is a 98, it works. Yeah, slowly getting there. I still need to replace the transmission shift cable. I need to replace the throttle cable up there. So still a little bit of work to do before I can put the engine in the car. But I did remember to smash the firewall end down there. There used to be a lip there. It's not there anymore because you can't have that there. You can, but it sucks. So on to the next. I think that's installed. Like I said, I had to remove all that bullshit. He was in the way. Whenever I put my engine in the second time, I literally had it on with the headers just like this, and it went exactly where it needed to. So I don't know why this one was so difficult, but whatever, it's in. And this does have the cast aluminum oil pan on it, so it does fit if you have the right engine mounts. So these are the Rix Rangers mounts. I have some random engine mounts. I don't even know what they are, to be honest, but the cast pan would not fit in mine. It's been a while since the last update I did, but you'll see the engine is now installed in the truck. I don't know if I was there or not. I think I stopped filming right after I put it in. I don't know if I explained the engine mount thing or not. It's definitely different. The header down here is contacting the HVAC box, so that sucks. And I can't move the engine over anymore because the header is also really close to the booster right there. So I'm kind of just screwed. Underneath the truck, the transmission's installed, the drive shaft's installed. Tomorrow, I guess I'll come in and I'll do brakes. I gotta put brakes on it, put the wheels on it, and lower it down, see how it sits. That'd be cool. But yeah, I mean, making progress slowly but surely. We have an upgraded radiator from an Explorer to put in here, one thing at a time. I gotta go round the ECU out of the Explorer still. I'll just go right there. I do have to extend this, which sucks. But it's gotta go from there to there. It's pretty good. I don't think that's too low. I mean, it's pretty low. It ain't as low as mine. That's good. I don't want it as low as mine. Shit, this thing looks cooler though. That's so much cooler. Just a little bit lower. I say a little bit. 4 inches. I mean, look at this angle. I was gonna say that Josh would. They hit the foot in the winter. Yeah, it's poking it in. You're going in the fender. Hell yeah. If you want to say that's perfect, honestly. It's pretty good. Well, I'd always heard that the regular cab sits things over the fender. You don't need this. Yeah. So, pretty good. I heard it pop. Yeah, that was the spring setting. Oh, I guess I missed a little bit when I put the spring in. Yeah. Oh yeah. Stoked. So now is the part of the swap where you have to use our brain a little bit. So I'm going to teach you guys how to use your brain if any of you all decide to do a V8 swap. So the most crucial part of doing this, let me turn my radio real quick. In order to use your brain, what you're going to have to do, the most important part is having what's called the EVTM, the Electrical Vacuum Troubleshooting Manual. That one. So you need one for your donor car. Our donor car is a 96 Explorer, so we have one for a 96 Explorer, and our receiving car is a 98 Ranger, so we have one for a 98 Ranger. These are available on eBay. They're not that expensive, like 40, 50 bucks, but it's invaluable. So if you're looking at something, you're like, damn, so this connector here is what I'm looking at, and I'm trying to solve my charging system problem. So right here, might be kind of hard to tell. That's yellow with white tracer and light green with red tracer. So I know that because that's what the book says, and I know what I need because I need these two wires, which are yellow and white and light green and red. This is the alternator sense circuit to make it turn on and use charging. So this is the Explorer charging harness. It's not quite the same as the Ranger charging harness. And you can see that those two wires come right here. There's a yellow wire and a light green wire. So those two wires go there. And on the Ranger, they are here. That's not the right spot. So what we have to do is we have to depin the yellow and white and the red and white, and make that go here if I want to use this harness, which I do because this plug on the 4-cylinder harness was in the engine bay harness, which is why it went through this connector. As you can see, this doesn't even have that same wire. So having the book is invaluable, because if you just had to sit here and think about it and use your brain and assume, but now I don't have to assume because I can see here what I'm looking at, and if I go to the charging circuit, because I know that's what I'm looking for, so let me go to the charging circuit page. So here, charging system. That connector that I was looking at is called C124. So there's C124 male, female, light green, red, charge indicator, and that goes to key on. So that goes down there, that plug. This one we don't use, we don't need that. It's not even there on this harness. So on this one, this is the yellow with white, circuit 36, our connector again, C124, up here. So that's how you use this book to troubleshoot and to understand what is different, because every single swap is always different, no matter what. If you have a 96 truck or a 96 donor into a 97 Ranger, it's really different. Even just if it was a 99 and maybe different. So don't just wing it. Actually know what you're doing. That way you don't fry anything and you don't damage your stuff. And this will just go right there to the. I might actually end up removing on the battery harness for the Ranger. I'm going to take out the charge cable. Maybe I'll implement this. But I want to keep the battery harness in the Ranger because it has the air conditioning plug right there. And this other plug down here, that one, I need that plug still. And the Explorer harness doesn't have it. This is a different plug. So you kind of have to figure it out. There's not a cookie cutter way to do this shit. So the last video I did was like a week ago, and I was talking about how to read the book and what to do with wires and stuff like that. I used the book some more, and I made this jumper harness that goes from there to there. On my truck, I had to cut this and extend every single wire, and it sucked. So now we got connectors, so it can come undone, and I didn't have to modify anything. So that's cool. Today I got the intake manifold on, did that. Coil packs are in. Spark plug wires will be here tomorrow. It's getting there, pretty good. We tried to test fit the clutch fan and the shroud today. That didn't quite work. If you end up doing one of these swaps, the 5-liter fan shroud is different than the V6 fan shroud. This hole is much higher on the V6 shroud, so that's what we're going to order to make that problem go away. And coming back here, you'll see that half the truck is not attached to the truck anymore. We are using a 96 donor, which has a return line, and this Ranger usually didn't come with a return line, so now we have a return line in our new fuel pump. This is a 2004-liter Ranger fuel pump, which is exactly the same as what we had, except it has a return port from the factory. And all we did was bought this conversion fitting to go from quick connect to AN. So we'll put a 90, run that to the fuel rail at the front for the return. So fuel comes from the engine back into there. Everything else should stay exactly the same. In theory, the old fuel pump is somewhere. Oh, I think it's on the vise still. I had to remove that little sensor on top, and it was a bitch. So this is the old fuel pump, and the way they returned was feed off the pump into the regulator and dump right back into the tank. So it's the same thing, it just doesn't make the big loop. So yeah, we'll see. It should work. I don't see why it wouldn't. But we're getting there, step by step. Every day is closer. Yep, she's done pretty much. No exhaust right now. ECU is unplugged because I'm gonna crank it, get some oil pressure going, or try and get something through the motor. It hasn't moved in a long time. And after that happens, we're gonna hook up the ECU and I'll see what happens, I guess. I already bumped the starter, so I know it works, but still. Well, I don't know if you heard that, but it sounded like 8 cylinders with compression. I'm sure you heard it sound kind of shitty at first. The lifters had to pump up a little bit because these are hydraulic blow lifters. The jump box turned off, so I don't know if the circuit broke or it timed out or got too hot or whatever. The battery's super duper dead, so yeah, maybe it's time to start this thing. I don't know, I'm scared. I hate the first start. Ain't fire right up, I tell you what.
Well, that's it.
That ain't fire right up.
I don't know if I had an exhaust leak.
We built us a fuel-efficient V8 truck. It's always going downhill. Caleb's gonna see if it'll move under its own power. Hell yeah, brother.
Pretty good. There's a vacuum link under the dash. Runs though.
Did you talk about the connector you made?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to modify it or move some pins around.
Oh, what doesn't work?
I don't think the cooling gauge works,
Oh, okay.
and the oil pressure. I'll have to check to see if it works.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Cool. Well, it starts up and runs and it didn't burn or light on fire, so
Yeah.
most of the wiring's
I
right.
don't know if the alternator's working or not.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know.
Is he eventually going to bring headlights or?
Yeah, he said he has in front of the truck.
Okay.
He said he'll bring the bumper and I guess the headlights before we go road testing.
What about this?
He said he has a fender.
I'd like to shoot the truck before it leaves, so.
That's when we can shoot this one.
Yeah. Just have Colby Photoshop that as a not damaged fender. Oh, well, we got the bed and everything too. Maybe he'll want us to take it to RK Customs, I don't know.
Well, he said he already has a bed.
Oh. Same color?
No. This is Oxford white.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, good job, Caleb. Oh, factory airbox too, huh?
Yeah. It's not the right. It's not. Mine is the newer one.
Mhm.
This one's different, but this one has the different mass airflow plug, like the circle one.
Yeah.
Whereas mine has like the whole mass airflow and air intake air temp built in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So now we have it. Chris is actually working for once. Usually he's stuck in the office dying, dealing with some bullshit, but he can actually work right now. We're staying late today. Me and Bo are going to start working on an L28 ET harness, or whatever harness we decide to do.
For Mr. Burns' truck, I mentioned in last month's vlog that we were working with PaulNet on redesigning the Z31 fuel rails to fit the VG33ER lower intake manifold. We have that here, we just haven't had a chance to put it in. It's in the queue. So that's probably going to be coming up for August. We're going to finally get the vehicle in, put another fuel rail in it with standard EV6 injectors. And that should solve that problem. Finally bolt it all together and hear it finally run on all six. Mr. Honey is in for some bolt-ons. I think we're doing a Hicus delete, some other odds and ends, a reverse lamp switch, just getting it a little bit more complete and up to his specifications, so waiting on that. We got this really clean blue 280 owned by Mr. Brunner. We built his Z32 built engine a couple of years ago now. I think it's been a couple of summers. So this is his high mileage 280Z, and I mean high mileage like he drives it and enjoys it. You wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at it that he's rolled the odometer over twice in this thing. He probably bought one of the last new old stock 280ZX long blocks, like new from Nissan. Had it put in. But he brought it in for some shifter bushings. We bled the brakes. We did a couple of other odds and ends of valve adjustments, so he's ready to go. Well, it's been a pretty hectic July. I mentioned last month that I was in Canada for 2 weeks, so I've been playing catch up for pretty much this whole month. and fixing a lot of issues. We've made some staffing changes that we're going to talk about in next month's vlog. You know, as always, we're striving to continually improve, and we appreciate everybody's patience with us while we're dealing with some transitional issues. We appreciate everybody's patience in dealing with slightly longer lead times on certain things. You know, we apologize for the wait. We have been making some staffing changes and some procedural changes as well, shifting responsibilities in the shop to different staff members to try to alleviate a lot of the concerns. So we're working on it. Thanks for sticking with us. I know it can be frustrating sometimes when you spend your hard-earned money and you don't receive your product in the original predicted delivery time. Really appreciate everybody's patience who's had to wait excessive wait times, but we've got some exciting new changes coming up. We've got quite a few installation instruction videos to get through, and since I'm the only one editing, it's a one-man show. I can only edit so many videos a month and still maintain my work-life balance, spend time with my family, do my hobbies, things like that. So unfortunately for the August vlog, we're not going to have any footage. We're going to roll whatever footage we have for August into the September vlog. But that'll give me the opportunity. I've got several instruction sets to finish. I've got our new crank angle sensor to do. I've got the Z31 Mega Squirt kit to do. And I also have the MS3Pro Mini for the Datsuns to finish. So yeah, I'm lucky if I can finish 3 videos in a month. Unfortunately, you guys are going to have to wait a little bit longer for another vlog episode after you're seeing this. But we definitely appreciate you continuing to watch. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, set the notification bell so that every time we have a fresh video uploaded, you get a notification. That really helps support the channel, and it costs you exactly $0 to implement that. Considering our channel is very small, we need every bit of help we can get to grow it. Please do that, it would be very much appreciated. As always, don't forget to check out our Amazon store. We've always got lots of goodies on there, merch, product support, reading material if you're looking to become a self-taught tuner, engine building tools, things like that. Also check out our eBay store. We've got lots of good used parts on our eBay store. Sometimes we have performance parts that come off of customers' cars that are not going to be utilized in a build direction that we pick. There's a multitude of different things that end up on our eBay store. So if you're looking to snag a good deal on a lightly used performance part, an open box special, or even just good used takeoffs. Lastly, don't forget about our merch. We really appreciate everybody who's buying t-shirts, coffee mugs, hats, stickers, anything to help our brand recognition. That is always very much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching again, and we'll see you next month.